Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to Ryan's Trains. I hope you guys had a good Friday and a good weekend. Today's review, we're going to be doing the Milwaukee Road SD40-2 made by MTH in the Milwaukee Road Bicentennial colors. So this is going to be a fun review, so I hope you guys enjoy. The EMD ST40-2 is a 3,000 horsepower, 2,200 kilowatt CCC diesel electric locomotive built by EMD from 1972 to 1989. The SD40-2 was introduced in January 1972 as part of an EMD's -2 series to compete against the GE U30C and the Alco Century 630. Although the higher horsepower the locomotive was available, including the EMD's own SD45-2 relatable the versions of the 3,000 horsepower and the 2,200 kilowatt, the SD40-2 made it one of the best-selling models in EMD's history, edged to only by the GP9 as a standard industrially. The several decades after introduction, the SD40-2 was a movement over the SD40 with a modern electric control system similar to those experienced in the DDA-40X peak production of the SD40-2. In the mid-70s, sales of the SD40-2 began to diminish after 1981 due to the oil crisis increased the competition of the GE-7. The series of introductions of the EMD SD50, which was available in current to the late SD40-2 productions, the last SD40-2 was delivered to United States Railroad and built on July 1984, with the productions continuing to railroads in Canada into 1988, Mexico into February 1986, and Brazil until October of 1989. The SD40-2 has been serving Canada, New Mexico, Brazil, and Guam, I think that's spelled, to suit export countries' specifications of General Motors design. The JT26CWSS British Rail's Class 59 of the Great Britain and the GT26CW2 of, I don't know how to say that word, for South Korea, Iran, Monaco, Peru, Paskin, and while of GT26CU to went to Zimbabwe, Brazil, and customized leading to Algeria and received their versions of the SD40-2 known as the GT26HCW2. So that was the history of this amazing locomotive. Let's now go on to the history of the Milwaukee Road. Then after that, we'll do the nice details of this MTH locomotive. The Chicago St. Paul and Pacific, also known as the Milwaukee Road, was a Class 1 railroad that operated in the Midwest and the Northwest of the United States from 1847 until 1886. The company experienced financial difficulties through the 70s and the 80s, including bankruptcy in 1977. Although it filed bankruptcy twice in 1925 and 1935, in those times, in 1980, it abandoned the Pacific Extension, which included tracks from states to Minnesota, Idaho, Washington. Remaining systems was merged into the Soo Line's reporting mark, the Soo, and subsidiaries of the Canadian Pacific Railroad reporting mark, the CP, in the January 1st, 1986 March of the historical trackage remains part by other railroads company brands and commemorative buildings such as historical Milwaukee Road Depot in Minneapolis and preserved locomotives such as the Milwaukee Road 261, which operates excursion trains. And don't worry, I'm still planning to find a Lionel Legacy Milwaukee Road 261. Even I know I found out Mr. Muffin's Trains has custom runs of MTH Milwaukee Road stuff. And hint, hint, I may be getting a Milwaukee Road FM Train Master. And I never had a Train Master before, so I think it'd be nice to have some of Fairbanks Morrison layout. But don't worry, everyone. I will still be trying to find Milwaukee Road steam engines. And which led to the Milwaukee Road's demise was the Pacific expansion, which really killed the Milwaukee Road because all railroads were going to the Pacific for more money. The Milwaukee Road, which was late in this business, did the Pacific expansion. They had to cut through mountain terrains in steep, impossible grades that steam locomotives couldn't do. So they made the electric locomotives, which there is a few electric locomotives around in Minnesota, and you can go to Duluth's Railroad Museum, which is the first electric locomotive that the Milwaukee Road ever purchased. They have a video about that engine's history and how they got it, and which is a really nice history of that engine. I'm thinking of getting one of those box cabs and those little Joe electric locomotives. Those things are really cool. And for those electric locomotives, they were soon put out of business once the SD40-2s came in bigger, higher diesel locomotives that can help go up the hills. The little Joes and electric locomotives were helped alongside with the SD40-2s until later the Pacific expansion was abandoned altogether with the Milwaukee Road. And one of my friends told me if the Milwaukee Road have never did the Pacific expansion, they would have been just fine as a railroad today. They probably would have merged with the Chicago Northwestern or been bought out by the Union Pacific. So they would have been still in a good financial area if they never did the Pacific expansion, because the Pacific expansion was basically money pouring out of the wallet. Milwaukee Road EMD SD40-2 156 was built in 1972, and it was Milwaukee Road SD40-2. The locomotive was then painted up as that's part of the bicentennial scheme for the Milwaukee Road, celebrating the Midwest when it was formed for America. The locomotive was then brought down to with other engines that were painted up in the 176 colors, and it was featured in a bunch of pictures in the middle of all its bicentennial sister engines. Later on the Milwaukee Road, we kept this engine its paint scheme for a while until recent pictures that I found, the engine was then removed of her paint scheme. Must have been during the early days of the Sioux Line era, when before Sioux Line started buying these engines up. There's no information what happened to this engine, since the engine has probably been scrapped or been changed hands since when the Sioux Line acquired the Milwaukee Road, and then when the Canadian Pacific acquired the Sioux Line, the engine's probably still as Canadian Pacific, the SD40-2, or it's probably been scrapped. Who knows? If it is still out there, that's a good thing. If it's not, that's very sad that we lost another bicentennial locomotive. The MTH Milwaukee Road SD40-2 is a Proto-Sound 2 engine and was delivered in 2014. How I got this engine was actually on my birthday when I turned 18 years old at a train club show that our club was hosting. There was a person that was selling this engine, and my dad thought it'd be a cool birthday present to get me. And once I got this engine from my dad, big thank you to my dad and my family for helping me buy this engine. This engine is really one of the pride and joy. It's up there with the Kewanee and Green Bay and Western RS11 and this engine. This engine's got a bunch of details that we'll see on this locomotive. Right here on the side of the locomotive, well, not really on the side, is an operating beacon light that is right here on the engine. We got a sand cap that's on the front. We got drop plates that's on the front of the locomotive. We got separately applied handrail details, a drop chain right here, and a lot of good details that you see on this amazing Proto Sound 3 Milwaukee Road SD40-2. The cruise sounds are really amazing. I don't have the MTH remote or the Wi-Fi thing, so when I leave this engine idling, the crew talk will happen a few times, and it sounds magnificent with the engine. It's got operating ditch lights on the front when the engine's blowing its horn. It's got lights down here when the engine's not moving. The lights will show down for the side of the engine. Overall, this engine is really nice. It throws amazing sound. This engine's really loud when the turbo kicks on. When the engine's running, it's just screaming and it's running around the layout, and it's really awesome. So I hope you guys enjoy. So now let's cut into the running session, and I'll see you guys after that. Well, thank you guys for coming around and watch this amazing video of the MTH Milwaukee Road SD40-2. I hope you guys had an awesome weekend watching this amazing video. Have a good weekend out there. Have a good Friday. Stay safe out there. Take care. I'll see you next time.
Posting about
The Milwaukee Road.
I'm tired of seeing it. My friends on TikTok send
The Milwaukee Road.
on Discord.
Milwaukee.
I was in
Chicago.
right, and all the
Locomotive.
we're just
The Milwaukee Road. The Milwaukee Road.
Just a week away.
The Milwaukee Road.
This is in a week. Woohoo! I am so happy about this information.
The Milwaukee Road.
Just a week away. Oh wow. Can you believe it?
The Milwaukee Road.
Just in a week. It got here so fast.
The Milwaukee Road.